Welcome to another edition of the Plaantik podcast, except this is the Top Fam podcast, the second of its kind. The last time we did it was a few weeks back, and we thought, why not just do another one, because, we're the best fans ever. I'm your host, Tausif, I don't even know how to say my name anymore. But it's, Anaf calls me TBA.
Yes.
He said that it could be my rap name as well. I don't know if I should go along with it.
Definitely.
I think it'll catch on.
Yeah.
What would be your rap name, Anna?
Athojos?
You'll stick to Athojos for your rap name as well?
For sure, definitely.
So for the OG fans who would have, and some of you are in that top fan group, I'm sure, you would remember Anaf and me, both of us. We've been doing these podcasts, the regular podcasts, for a while now, and then we stopped in the middle, and we thought, let's do a bit of reunion podcast for the top fam. It's always good to have you on the show, Anaf.
Thanks so
it's always
much.
good to do one of these shows. But yeah, how have you been, man? Everything going well?
Everything good, yeah. Personally, I've had a lot of things happening in 2019.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Got married.
On the marriage. I'm sorry, girls or guys out there. Dude, it's 2019.
Yeah,
You gotta be okay with everything.
Yeah.
But congratulations on that.
Thank you.
However, going forward, we're gonna talk less about your successes and more about Liverpool's successes, because our first question is actually about the Champions League winners, of whom you've also got. Being a United fan, you're also you've got a favorite player in that team, as far as I know.
Yes.
But look, so some of the questions on the top fan, the list that we had. It'll be quite close to each other,
right.
So we'll try to merge them together to have a few questions together. But okay, I'll start with the first one.
Yeah.
So, Sidechild asks, should Liverpool continue their winning ways by maintaining their usual 3 defensive midfielders, or bring in an aggressive attacking midfielder to boost their already buffed attack?
Good question, actually. But I always felt when Coutinho left, Liverpool fans and a lot of people thought this is going to be the end of Liverpool or the Clop's resurgence or stuff like that. But it actually enabled Liverpool to play in the way they now do. They allow the front three to do all their stuff. They don't have to think about getting back, tracking back, defending too much, because they have those 3 midfielders in front of the back 4 doing all the nasty stuff for them, all the dirty work for them. So I think that structure is something Klopp has worked on, and I think that enables the front 3, Mane, Firmino and Salah, to do their stuff. Bringing in a number 10, a flair player, as you said, an aggressive attacking midfielder, I don't think that actually does any good to the balance of the team. I think right now the balance is perfect. I don't think Klopp needs to change that much as of now.
And I think you're right in itself, because he didn't change anything from the Champions League win.
Yeah.
But I have to give kudos to Klopp where it's due, because of the fact that when Coutinho was such an
important player,
integral part of the team, and to lose him and then to improve, honestly, it's a feat and a half. So I guess he knows what he's doing. But going forward, though, we can see that there's been some scares here and there with Liverpool.
Right.
You could contribute it to the that Alisson's not there, a few injuries here and there. Do you think that they should then bump up for the future?
Definitely.
If not now?
I think for now, Klopp feels his team is good, and I think we are now seeing Fabinho more in the Premier League. Last season he wasn't involved as much. I think Naby Keita will also get game time this season. So I think he's in the phase of trying to get them into the mold more. And I think eventually the likes of Milner and Henderson, who have been fantastic for Liverpool. So I think he will have to replace those type of players and bring in more energetic players who will do that sort of a job. That dirty stuff, nasty job. In the middle. Getting stuck in. Naby Keita, Fabinho, they're not flashy players, but they'll do a particular job for your team.
They'll do the job.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think eventually, one season down the line, I think he will get a few more midfielders, even probably a centre back as well, to shore up his team. And I think that's the way to go forward for him.
Makes sense. The other question, kind of similar, well, not similar, it's related to Man City, because Liverpool's at the top right now. So Rasheeq Islam asks, Do you think City can overcome this 8-point gap and win the league, or is it over?
It's too early to say it's over, but as Pep said in his book,
Same.
you know, you win the leagues in the last 8 games, but you lose the league in the first 8 games. So for Pep, I think the biggest blow was Laporte, obviously, and we can all see that. And not having a replacement actually cost him. Last season, in those cases, Company came in and did his job. But I don't know if they can actually overcome this unless Liverpool have a slip. This is going to be very tough for Man City, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Kind of sticking with your favorite player from Liverpool and in general right now, I would assume, Virgil van Dijk,
Yes.
obviously winning the best UEFA, and then obviously FIFA Best Award went to Messi.
Yeah.
So the question Sharaf Zuhair asks, your personal opinion about FIFA Best Award ceremony. And Mashroof Alom then kind of asks similar questions. After their poor performance last season, do you really think Ramos, Marcelo, and Modric should have been in that 2019 FIFA Pro 11?
No way. I don't see how they actually, I mean, they would be even considered, given that, the likes of Robertson, Trent, they had such a stellar season. I have absolutely no idea how, you would actually put Marcelo, Ramos, and Modric. I mean, I love Modric. I'm a big fan of Modric, and Ramos is a great leader as well. Marcelo has been doing his stuff for the last 10 years, but on the basis of last season, you really can't have them in the team. And I would say, there's no way these three should have been in the team.
So what's your opinion about the best award ceremony, or any bests in general, like all these award ceremonies that we see?
It's more.
Do you agree with them?
I like it. It gives people to talk about stuff. But it has gotten to a stage where it's sort of like a popularity contest rather than actually understanding the impact of a particular player in a particular season. So it doesn't really reflect, perfectly, I would say, but it does have some reflection of the performance.
This is the first time in a while that when a defender has been chosen, which I personally loved, because that goes to show, that people aren't just only focusing on Messi, Ronaldo, or whoever's scoring the most goals. So I love the fact that Van Dijk picked that up. But at the same time, I was never a big fan of these awards to start with, because like the FIFA one is all about voting. So essentially someone, the captains the coaches, of the different countries and the coaches would vote, and the media personality would vote. And more often than not, in the countries outside certain regions, people don't follow football as much, like you or me. We watch football almost every game, every day. We live it, we breathe it. But the players themselves, even though they played a lot, they a lot of them, actually maybe not a lot, but a significant amount of them don't follow the game as is. So I think for me, these best awards should have a different mechanism to it.
Definitely.
I don't disagree in general, like having a top 11 or the best 11. I disagree with having just one award for just one, like the best player. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's almost to say what's the best song of 2019. You could say, like that just doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's where I personally stand.
I think I agree with you to that extent.
Alright, so the next question's from KZC Zaman. We discussed more about English Premier League. Why are the other leagues not attracting us so much? I'll say that it's look, the other leagues are definitely way popular. I know people who don't follow English Premier League at all. They just follow
La Liga.
European leagues, or La Liga or Italian league. Or people from South America don't really care about Premier League as much. So I think it's just
regional
what
thing,
we see over in Asia. 100%. In Bangladesh specifically, we see a lot more of Premier League fans over La Liga fans, and that reflects on Plaantik as well. You'll see that we tend to cover Premier League more often. It's not because we watch that more than the other. It's more because people that we target, our audience, follows, likes, engages a lot more with that stuff. Say a Norwich game versus Bournemouth will always have more traction on Plaantik than a Serie A game between two lower league table teams. So
I also
That's kind of the reason. Yeah,
I
go on.
also feel Fantasy Premier League has actually done a lot,
Oh man,
to this.
oh,
I mean,
last 2 years it's changed
the dynamics of it,
I've been
right?
playing it. I've been playing it for the last 6-7 years,
Yeah.
but the last 2 or 3 years, I think FPL they realized
Yeah.
that what they are.
Yeah, I know.
They had no, because only recently they only had their official Facebook page.
Yeah.
They had all these videos coming up, all the scout stuff. But prior to that, it was very niche.
Definitely. I know a lot of people.
and I know people.
Yeah, exactly. I know a lot
Yeah.
of people who actually don't follow the Premier League, but they play the fantasy
100%.
Premier League, and that is how they got
100%.
into the Premier League. So
It's crazy.
They support
One of my
Barca, they
friends-
support AC Milan, but
Yeah.
they play fantasy Premier League, and now they know more
Exactly.
more Premier League players than I would be able to name.
Exactly. So I think, obviously, marketing,
Yeah.
regional stuff. Bangladeshi speaking English more than Spanish or Italian. These things all kind of add
Yeah,
up,
definitely.
even though that's not one single reason why that happened. So yeah, I think that's the reason. But having said that, look, our next question is about Zidane. So Shopnil Tanzim asks, how can Zidane address Real's defensive woes in the upcoming winter transfer window?
Wow, upcoming winter transfer window is a tough one. I think.
As in the next month,
Yeah, I know,
yeah.
I know. But I think that's a tough one because I don't think you will get a lot of quality defenders available in the transfer market in the winter market, particularly. Usually you don't get to see a lot of good players available in the winter market. First of all,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't see how he can do anything about it really, except for if he has a few players out on loan. If they're doing well, if he's short in numbers, maybe call them up. But
Then we can bring them
I
back.
don't think any good manager would allow their primary defender to go midway through the season. So it'll be very tough for Zidane, definitely.
Right. Yeah, but look, I think it's definitely going to be tough just to change up things in January transfer
Yeah.
window.
It usually is.
Zidane has to work with what he has, and plus, I think Zidane set such a high benchmark for himself
Yeah.
when he came on.
Yeah.
He's never going to replicate
Yeah.
that. I think that fans need to understand that he's never going to replicate that. But he should be obviously not losing games or not producing as not enough, I guess, sparks.
Yeah.
That should be his
I
concern.
think
more than
I think overall the team needs a bit of refreshment in the sense that when Madrid won those 3 Champions Leagues, I think that is when you realize that this team has peaked. You cannot expect Ramos or the likes of Modric who are aging, or Marcelo, players like that who are aging. I think they cannot get back into that form collectively. You might have Ramos playing good 5 games, but Modric might not be up to that level because it's just that they, as a team, they have just peaked, and now it's time for some fresh legs, fresh faces, young faces who will you basically make a new team. So I think that is the process that Zidane has to go through, and I hope that he's backed because that's the biggest challenge for a manager when you have a team and then you have to transition into a new. Even at least as good as your previous team. So that's difficult, obviously.
All right, the next question is probably one of my favorite ones. Nahian Ahmed Tanzib asks, is Leo Messi underrated? I love this question.
Whew. Is Leo Messi? I think.
It'll actually take you. It'll actually take you to a deeper place because some would say, "Are you crazy? Like, what kind of question is this?" But this actually makes you think a lot. I feel
it does. I think the best way to answer it would be asking me this question after 10 years. That's when I'll be able to say whether he's underrated.
Okay, so Nahian Ahmed Tanjib, make sure you follow us in 2029.
Another podcast.
We're gonna do a continuation of this part 10 years later. But look, I think this is a fantastic question because we often tend to overlook a lot of aspects and just focus on certain things. I actually was thinking about this the other day about how being overrated too much actually makes someone underrated because you tend to focus on the aspects of why you think that they're overrated or they're rated a lot, but then you forget the contributions that they provide on a day-to-day basis, which then gets overlooked. Beckham, for example, he is known for his crosses and free kicks, his good looks and stuff, and obviously he's overrated if you say you know, if he's the top 5 players of all time. That's just not true.
Yeah.
But one thing that's often overlooked is his work rate on the pitch. He was the most hardworking player almost all times whenever he's played. But that never gets talked about or discussed.
Yeah.
But that was one of the prime reasons why he would get picked as well. So because we talk about his free kicks and his good looks and his all this other stuff, nobody talks about, so in those aspects sometimes some people might be underrated, and I firmly believe that from that aspect Leo Messi is definitely underrated, as is so many other players. Like,
true.
Some people don't even get recognition for what they do. Players like Busquets and Carrick and all these other DMs. Even in Liverpool right now, you've got so many of the players who are not Mane, who are not Salah, who are not Firmino. They deserve just as much as recognition, but you have to go kind of deep. But fantastic question, Nahian. It took me to a very, very deep place.
Deep, it does take you there.
So thank you for that. Next one is about Manchester United.
Oh man.
The first one's from Iftikhar Russia. So your thoughts about United's future, and he's kind of given us a couple of lists. So number 1, this club is going to get back the glorious days and it'll take time. Number 2, it's going to finish soon and the condition will be worse, and there's a possibility that they will finish each season 8th to 10th of the point table going forward. Number 3 is the club will transfer some potential players, but they'll only be fighting for top 4 and become a mid-table team in general. So that's what Iftikhar Russians kind of asked us, what do we think what's going to happen with United? And Arif Hussain also asked, do you think United sacking Mourinho was the wrong decision? Yes.
Wow.
I'll go straight into it. Yes. But I want to hear your thoughts.
Sacking Mourinho, it's I'm on the fence on this, even though I am a huge Mourinho admirer, and if there was one manager I wanted to work out at United after Ferguson, it was definitely Mourinho.
Same.
Not because of, obviously the egos are different, the personalities are different, but Mourinho just had that arrogance that United had when Ferguson was there. So apart from that, if I have to say whether that was the right call, I don't necessarily think so. In a lot of ways, probably yes, because how he viewed football may not have been the way United actually viewed football. But I think then you have to ask, why was he recruited in the first place if he doesn't align with your vision or your philosophy? So that's a different argument altogether. But
exactly,
if I have to stick to this question, then I would say no, on the basis of he wasn't backed properly in the third season. I mean, he wanted a defender, you gave him the defender, you gave him the contract, so you give him what he wants, and then you judge him after. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is just bullshit management. So you give your manager the contract extension, then you back him in the transfer window, get him the players he wants.
Yeah.
You didn't, and then you sack him. So that's rubbish.
It's just terrible. Yeah.
So that's one question.
So going forward now,
so
future of the club, like where do you think is heading?
It does not seem very good, to be very, very honest with you. A lot of problems. I think in any organization, if the vision or the philosophy from the top is not clear and is not being implemented properly, I think you will have problems when you trickle down the order, and I think that is what's essentially happening at United. I think if you look at Moyes, he was one personality. Then we went to Van Gaal, he was another personality. Then we went to Mourinho, he was another different personality. And then you go back to Solskjaer, that's a different personality altogether. So none of these four, you would say, have a similar sort of vision or philosophy or whatever about football.
So true.
So where are you going? I mean, if you look at City, they had Pellegrini. Okay, Mancini, Pellegrini. You were seeing something going. Pellegrini is more. He's more keep the ball on the ground, play. Passing football. He's that sort of a guy, and you could see that in what he's doing at West Ham too. So from then on, getting Guardiola made the perfect sense. So for United, if that was the plan. After Van Gaal, the person that should have come in was Guardiola, not Mourinho. I mean, if you're talking about the vision and the philosophy of the club.
True.
So right now, I like what Solskjaer is doing in the sense that he's trying to bring in younger players and all that. But I still think, it's short-sighted in the sense that you cannot go into the season with Rashford, Martial,
Such
and
a
a 17-year-old
yeah.
as your strike force who have not scored 20 goals in a season. I mean, and on top of that, you're selling Lukaku and Sanchez. So,
and you're expecting them to step up and then put that pressure on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
You look at Rashford when he was playing with Zlatan, and I think those were the seasons where Rashford was phenomenal because he had someone to look up to. I don't think he's there to take up the burden of being the number one guy. So I don't think Solskjaer, he's trying to get those younger players in and all that, but you need senior players to push them on, to give them that umbrella, that protection, that guidance, and I don't think United has that right now. So it is a problem from the top management. Definitely they have no idea what they want to do, and they're just chopping and changing strategies as they go along. So if I have to say what's the future is bleak, unless actually decide on a particular plan and stick with it for 3-4 years, and then we can say that okay, this has not worked, we'll divert to another strategy or whatever. But you cannot go 2 seasons, change a manager, then go another season, have a manager for 6 months, 7 months, change again. That is not going to work.
For sure. Yeah, I think relegation is inside.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Look, we could obviously talk about this a lot more, but we'll have to wait and see as to how these things pan out. But yeah, I don't think it's looking good either. But I think if you've made a decision, stick with it. So Solskjaer, definitely, if he's not doing well still, you gotta stick with it. Give him time, see where it leads, and then take a decision. Look, we've done the majority of the questions. What we'll do now is ask just some of the external, some of the quick ones.
Yeah.
So one question is about who would you rather have, Lord Bednar or Lord Heskey in your team?
Lord Bednar or Lord Heskey? I actually quite liked Heskey when he was playing with Owen back in those Liverpool days. Heskey,
100% Heskey. Top 3 teams likely to win the UCL.
Liverpool, Juventus, and Barcelona.
Okay, interesting. Ter Stegen or Neuer?
Ter Stegen, definitely Ter Stegen right now.
Yeah, right now Ter Stegen for sure. Clop or Pep?
Wow. Whew. That's a very good question. I think I would go with Clop.
Okay. I can see why. Yep. Okay, this question is actually about Plaantik. So, how many admins and which teams do they support? And some people ask about our plans, our website, or if we have like a magazine, how do we earn? It's all these questions. So lots of questions about plans. So I'll just give you a quick update that we recently finished our recruitment and we have almost 30 people on the team, which is absolutely nuts. Across 14 different countries, which is even more nuts. So it's time zones all over the place. So there's people, we've got team members from Japan, Qatar, from Italy, from Canada. So it's kind of all across the world, which is bloody brilliant. Who do we support? So it's a mix. It's always been a mix. Obviously, there are United fans. There's Arsenal fans. We've got Liverpool fans now. We've also got people who support Real, Chelsea. So it's Barcelona as well. So it's kind of all over the place. Someone who supports Bayern, and a couple who don't really have a
particular team
set. Yeah, because they just work as a less about football fan and more about just doing the work. So it's a bit of a mix, but they're mostly our contractors. So it's a bit of a mix right now. As for our plans, we've got some big plans next year. We say it all the time, but we have been doing a few things. With the Jamal Bouye interview, we've been trying to get Jamie Day on board. We want to get a few more big names, hopefully, fingers crossed. Hamza Chaudhary, things like that. Other than that, website, so we're going to relaunch our website as well. Magazine, I don't know about that. Do we earn from
Yeah.
Facebook? Not really, but we do have partnerships, which only this season we've started having a lot more partnerships than before. So
Yeah.
we've got Bagdoom coming up with Fantasy Premier League. We've got Boma Burger doing a weekly prediction contest, and a few other brands who are interested. So yeah, hopefully this season you'll see a lot more of that. Iftikhar Russia asks, any possibility to know more about the masterpiece though? That's the Netflix style
Oh,
video.
yeah. You know what?
I actually
TBA
wanna.
I mean, I had people over yesterday at my place, and they were all, they went nuts. I mean, they were like, "Who did it? Ke korse? Kibabe korse?" And I'm like, this dude who's like a demigod, lives in Perth, has a full time job, and then he does this. And they're like,
I actually put it there because I want to talk about it only because it didn't go viral. So damn you, internet. But no, look. Jokes aside, it's I did put up like a bit of a behind the scenes on my Instagram, so you can follow me there if there's a bit more information there. But I don't want to take too much of Plaantik's time explaining what I did. But it was I saw a couple of tweets from NBA teams. One tweet in February from AS Roma where they made that Roma montage with their players,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like the Roma film, they won the Oscar, and then the goal against Barcelona that was in an Oscar award. And I was like, oh, that would be a cool kind of thing. So I started doing posters, and then I was like, why not take it up a notch? And instead of doing the posters, just start doing the trailers in that style. And then NBA came up with a schedule with a very similar idea, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start doing something like that. So it wasn't like the most original idea in terms of putting on Netflix, but it was something that I came up with.
oh,
like, when I
dude,
first
come
saw Air
on!
Force tweet,
You're
so-
just being humble. This was insane.
It did take a while. It
Oh my
was
God,
almost
it's-
like 60 hours or so. But yeah, if the car we'll happy to catch up with you and discuss more on that. Other than that, should we do any underground football tournament anytime soon? Hasnat Arman asks. Arnav, should we?
We could and we should. I think.
I think we should. So
Yeah.
obviously we used to partner up with local events for things like this, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
Especially underground football, it's just not the same as it used to be. And also it's a tough kind of market to. Again, you spend hours and hours and weeks and days, and you don't really get much in
Yeah.
return because we don't really partner up with bigger companies. It's difficult to do, but we want to do stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
NDE. So last year we called up a few people who follow us on Instagram. So make sure you follow us on Instagram to come and play with us on ND, which was fantastic to play with you guys. So make sure you do that. But look, I think that's enough time for this top fam. There's so many other questions. This was fantastic,
Yeah,
Arnav.
this was fun. This was super fun.
This was fun. We should do a regular one, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I know you're married and shit, but let's get back up on that podcast wagon, man.
Yes,
It's,
yes. I think
it's gonna be good.
I need something to look forward to. I can't look forward to United games anymore, so might as well.
Look,
Oh,
Arnav,
man.
thanks again,
Yeah.
man.
Thank you so
thanks
much,
for
TBA.
coming along, for taking the time. I'll see you
Pleasure.
soon, and Top Fam as well. Thanks for checking us out. You're the best. It's it's crazy to see the interaction we get with you guys on Facebook. So keep doing what you're doing. Any ideas, any thoughts, any comments, suggestions, comment down below. Or obviously you can reach me on Instagram or Arnav as well there. Always happy to chat. So thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Take
Keep
care, guys.
calm and don't miss the planting. See ya.